that is our hope and desire of the Civic Center Board, that in addition to being a wonderful asset to the community, in the downtown community, and revitalizing Fairfield, that we'll be able to incorporate portions of Barhite and preserve some of our heritage. So we'll take a break and move downstairs. We're on the stairs coming down from the balcony, and we are noticing the railing, and it does have a little pattern to it, but this is probably not salvageable because it is not up to code.
Yeah, one of the issues when you're trying to, let's say, either move a building or remodel a building is that it's then subject to codes. And one of the issues I noticed when walking up here was this handrail in particular is too short. We're short by possibly 6 inches here. This is one element that would need to be changed so that it would be up to code, along with electrical systems and bathrooms, and it just goes on.
Handicap, accessibility.
Is headroom an issue here?
This is okay for me.
Yeah, headroom is a bit of an issue for me, and then I think that this might be considered also, and it would be considered in code, especially coming down the stairs, because most of us have to duck.
Yeah.
Right.
And now I might mention, upstairs, with some of the water damage, the white paint has peeled, and you can see that this was originally a natural finish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, there might be somebody
I
that
was
would...
going to say lead paint or something.
Well,
Yeah.
probably. But, if there was somebody out there that wanted some nice pieces of oak, this would make a nice, for a domestic setting, this might make a nice railing for somebody's home.
Right. And we'll move downstairs further.
Now, we've been joking around about duct tape here, and one of the windows is held together. We could do a 3M commercial or something, but anyway, this shows the precarious condition here again that the windows are in, and that duct tape didn't even hold. One of those pieces fell down. But these are nice little windows. They're tall, narrow. They would be perhaps in the Civic Center setting. It could be a lighted panel. Like
And we have talked about some windows being maybe inside and not exposed to the weather, and we're not sure yet.
Like a glass partition.
Sure.
That was certainly popular during the Tiffany era. I know the White House, I don't know if it's the Grant administration, but back in there somewhere, maybe 1880s, had the Tiffany studios make a big stained glass partition for the front hall of the White House. And of course, that's been taken out years ago, but that is a design element that's a possibility.
Right. And I know when Tom and Ken and I met here, and with Kelsey, we're throwing all kinds of ideas at him. Oh, we could save this, and we can do this, and we can do that, and he's the one that has to put it all together, so might not work.
But like even the front doors, they look bad from the outside. The veneer is peeling, but they appear to be sound. You could re-veneer the outside, perhaps. The inside is very attractive. The finish is so good, and certainly those fixed panels on either side of the double door are nice.
My hope is that maybe even if we can't use these for the Civic Center because of code and everything else, but maybe someone will get them. I have a lot of old doors in my home that I enjoy, and they were a real headache to my contractor. They didn't like me.
One thing I'd like to point out, excuse me, did you finish that thought?
Yeah, but I used them anyway.
That's right. Well, those contractors, they're being paid. If the camera would go over to this little, what's left of maybe an altar rail, I'm not sure what this is. This looks like it's a piece of the original fabric of the interior. It might have just been a kneeler, I don't know. But you can see some Gothic, remains of some Gothic fretwork there in the corners. It's obviously been chopped off somehow, but...
There has been some vandalism. I know John Conant, when he was talking about the pipe organ, talked about actual pipes that were missing, and some have shown up and some not, and so...
And we had talked in the other show, we had talked about the doors here from the narthex, the entry that leads into the nave. I don't know, Kelsey, do you think these are original doors, or are these 1960s rehashes of what might have been?
Well, I don't know. They don't exactly look original, but it's hard to say.
But I think the hardware.
The hardware I was just looking at.
The brass is nice.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice, and I don't know.
It doesn't feel like wood.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. These don't look original, actually, now that the closer I get. The hardware is very nice. And so if there are elements that we do want to save, these are things that we look at.
And of course, the original hardware on the front doors are gone because now it has modern push bars, probably for security and code reasons. But certainly some of these things could be reutilized without too much trouble.
Right. And like I said, we are happy that the Civic Center has been able to act to just help save some of these pieces, even if we aren't going to use them. They can be maybe acquired by someone in the community. I'm not sure yet how that will work out, and we are grateful that MUM is letting us do this and helping pay for the organ to be removed and stored.
Yeah, Kelsey, you want to talk about some of these structural members, these cast, what we think are cast concrete piers, structural elements?
Yeah, if you look at these columns here in the arcade of the side aisle, it's one recognizable element that we've talked about preserving or recreating, and I've come in and done some measurements and taken a closer look at these columns and realized that they were not actually wood like the columns that we saw previously upstairs, but they're actually cast in place structural members. And so what I've done is taken measurements to eventually recreate them, possibly in the Civic Center. Possibly in the Civic Center. And the reason for recreation instead of reusing them is simply because they are so massive, being all concrete, that we may end up destroying them trying to get them out of here.
Yeah, and
let alone
there's no way of knowing how they're anchored
Yeah.
into the sub-basement and so forth.
let alone the fact that they are structure for the building, and once you start taking those out, then basically most of the building needs to be gone by the time you're taking something like that out. So it would be easier to just recreate them, but they're very beautiful. They're very
I know
beautiful.
that was one thing that I was saying, oh, I want one of these. I want one of these. I'd love to have one of these in my house.
Sure.
Let's save these.
And
But
with the dimensions, it's easy enough to recreate the column and the arches.
And they're pretty simple. I mean, they're very elegant, but they're blocky, and there's not a lot of sculpted foliage or anything. So
Right.
it's a kind of stylized, modified acanthus capital, perhaps. I don't know. Yeah, and I want to mention this before we forget too. If you look above those structural columns, you'll see sort of a zigzag element that goes under the windowsills and then jogs up and across and then down again. And that replicates the stonework that you see on the outside of the church to a degree. And Kelsey, you had some really highfalutin sounding assessment of that, so you want to share?
Well, one thing I noticed was that all of the interior walls of the chapel, Barhyte Chapel, replicate or are the exterior walls. And so what you see from the inside is actually what you see from the outside and vice versa. So the outside actually defines the interior volume. And so a lot of what you see in here, the columns and the shields with the cross bracing, these are structural elements that are really holding this building together.
And let's, with the camera, let's take a look at those, the cross pieces. I know we've looked before, and we do want to, we talked about saving these. I know Ken Norton said, oh, let's save the light fixtures and the shields, and yeah, we want to, but what might happen?
Well, if we just start taking them out, then you can see that, basically the shields are the bottom side of the truss. And if you just start taking them out, then you'll have some pretty severe structural issues. And so saving some of these elements may be a little delicate, but there are people out there that do it, and so I'm sure we can figure it out.
And the same with the light fixtures. There are some that are in good shape, and like we said before, we're not sure the date, if these are fairly new from the 60s or if they're old. Would have to be investigated, but there are some that are not all there.
Yeah, if that milk glass is in fact plexiglass or something, well, that'll tell us that they're not old. Mm-hmm. And we were discussing off camera earlier as to whether or not the light fixtures would meet modern code, and it's very likely that they don't, and would actually be a fire hazard. So even rewired